Welcome back to our channel on this incredibly beautiful day. We are thrilled to bring you the most comprehensive and deeply analyzed updates from the dramatic world of Genoa City. Today, we are diving into a storyline that promises to shake the very foundations of the Abbott legacy to its core. The bitter, seemingly endless rivalry between Jack Abbott and Victor Newman has long been the dark, beating heart of Genoa City, a toxic feud that has spanned decades and claimed countless casualties. For Jack, the hatred he harbors for the Newman patriarch is not merely a passing emotion, it is a fundamental aspect of his identity. A consuming fire that frequently threatens to burn down everything he holds dear. Despite his numerous attempts to rise above the animosity and focus on the positive aspects of his life, the magnetic pull of vengeance always seems to draw him back into the shadows. This enduring animosity is a generational curse, one that has poisoned business deals and shattered families. In stark contrast to this legacy of hatred stands Diane Jenkins, a woman who has fought tooth and nail to reclaim her place in Jack's life and heart. Diane has recently made a profound and vulnerable call for reconciliation, desperately urging Jack to abandon his destructive vendettas and focus entirely on rebuilding their fragile marriage. She recognizes that their love cannot thrive in an environment polluted by constant warfare, and she has laid her heart on the line, begging Jack to choose their future over his past. Diane's vision for their life is one of peace, stability, and mutual devotion, a stark departure from the chaotic, adrenaline-fueled battles that have characterized Jack's interactions with Victor. However, the human heart is a complex and often contradictory organ, and Jack Abbott's heart is currently a battlefield where love and hatred are locked in a vicious struggle for supremacy. For a fleeting moment, it appeared that Diane's desperate pleas might actually resonate with Jack. That the prospect of a serene and loving marriage might finally outweigh the intoxicating thrill of revenge. He wavered, his resolve to destroy Victor momentarily softening as he contemplated the beautiful future Diane was offering him. But this hesitation was merely a calm before the storm. The psychological scars inflicted by Victor Newman run too deep, and the addictive rush of plotting his downfall is a temptation Jack finds nearly impossible to resist. The pivotal turning point arrives on Friday, marking a catastrophic shift in Jack's internal landscape. Despite the genuine love he feels for Diane and the very real risk of losing her forever, Jack is ultimately overwhelmed by his long-standing, deeply entrenched hatred for Victor Newman. The rational part of his mind, the part that cherishes his wife and values his family's stability, is violently suppressed by a primal, overwhelming need for retribution. On this fateful day, Jack makes the conscious, deliberate decision to reactivate his revenge plan, effectively turning his back on Diane's call for peace. This is a calculated surrender to his darkest impulses, a tragic realization that his desire to see Victor suffer is overpowering. To execute this renewed campaign of destruction, Jack knows he needs a weapon of unparalleled unpredictability and danger, leading him directly to the chaotic doorstep of Patty Williams. Patty is currently a walking powder keg, a woman whose fragile mental state has been further destabilized by her recent, intense obsession with the amnesiac Matt Clark. She is a chaotic force of nature, driven by delusions, unresolved trauma, and a desperate need for validation and control. Patty has been wreaking havoc across Genoa City, acting as a wild card whose actions are entirely dictated by her fractured psyche and her dangerous fixations. Jack Abbott is fully prepared to point her directly at the Newman Empire, regardless of the consequences. The dynamic between Jack and Patty is incredibly fraught, layered with decades of trauma, manipulation, and profound emotional scarring. Jack had recently rejected Patty, attempting to establish boundaries and distance himself from her overwhelming and toxic presence. This rejection had deeply unsettled Patty, exacerbating her feelings of abandonment and fueling her erratic behavior as she transferred her obsessive energies onto Matt Clark. By approaching her now, Jack is playing an incredibly dangerous psychological game, exploiting her vulnerabilities and manipulating her desperate need for his approval. He knows exactly which emotional buttons to push, using their shared history as leverage to draw her back into his web of deceit. The clandestine meeting between Jack Abbott and Patty Williams is a masterclass in tension and manipulation, a dark convergence of two damaged souls united by a common, destructive purpose. Jack approaches Patty with a calculated charm, carefully masking his true intentions beneath a veneer of camaraderie and shared grievance. He finds her in a state of high agitation, her mind swirling with obsessive thoughts of Matt Clark and her lingering resentment over Jack's previous dismissal. Jack expertly navigates this emotional minefield, validating her anger and slowly, methodically steering the conversation toward the one topic guaranteed to capture her undivided attention: the absolute destruction of Victor Newman. With chilling precision, Jack outlines a new, significantly more dangerous proposal to Patty. A comprehensive strategy designed to exploit Victor's weaknesses and dismantle his empire from the inside out. This is not a simple scheme of corporate espionage. It is a multi-layered, highly volatile plot that requires Patty to utilize her unique brand of chaos and unpredictability. Jack details the specific vulnerabilities within the Newman family and corporate structure, painting a vivid picture of the devastation they can achieve if they work in perfect, twisted harmony. He offers Patty a sense of purpose, a target for her boundless, erratic energy, and the intoxicating promise of standing by his side as an equal partner in this dark endeavor. Patty, initially wary due to Jack's recent rejection, is quickly seduced by the sheer audacity of the plan and the undeniable thrill of being needed by the man who has haunted her thoughts for decades. The prospect of partnering with Jack to bring down a mutual enemy overrides her lingering resentment, and she eagerly accepts his dangerous proposition. Her obsession with Matt Clark temporarily takes a backseat to the exhilarating reality of conspiring with Jack Abbott, her mind rapidly spinning with chaotic ideas and destructive possibilities. Patty agrees to participate in this escalating war of retaliation, her fractured psyche fully embracing the chaos and violence that this new alliance will inevitably unleash upon their targets. Together, Jack and Patty begin to meticulously map out their bold and aggressive moves, identifying the critical pressure points that will inflict the maximum amount of damage on Victor's sprawling empire. They discuss strategies to manipulate key personnel, sabotage crucial business deals, and orchestrate public relations nightmares that will leave the Newman patriarch scrambling for survival. Their brainstorming sessions are a terrifying blend of Jack's ruthless corporate acumen and Patty's unhinged, unpredictable creativity. They are crafting a perfect storm of destruction, a relentless barrage of attacks designed to break Victor's spirit and leave his legacy in absolute ruins. The scale of their ambition is matched only by the risks. In the midst of this dark plotting, Jack Abbott is operating under a profound and tragic delusion. He has convinced himself that achieving this ultimate revenge against Victor Newman will finally bring him the peace and closure he has sought for his entire adult life. He rationalizes his descent into darkness as a necessary evil, a temporary deviation from the path of righteousness that will ultimately result in a safer, more stable world for his family. Jack completely fails to recognize that the very act of engaging in this toxic warfare is poisoning his soul, eroding his morality, and destroying the very foundation of the life he claims to be protecting. His belief that vengeance will yield tranquility is a fatal miscalculation. Meanwhile, Diane Jenkins, ever the perceptive and highly intuitive partner, begins to sense a chilling shift in Jack's demeanor. Despite his best efforts to conceal his renewed alliance with Patty and his escalating obsession with Victor, Diane can feel the darkness creeping back into their home. She notices the subtle changes in his behavior, the distant look in his eyes, the sudden, unexplained absences, the underlying tension that seems to radiate from his every pore. Diane's heart sinks as she realizes that the fragile peace they had begun to build is rapidly crumbling, replaced by the familiar, suffocating atmosphere of secrecy and impending conflict. She knows Jack better than anyone, and her instincts are screaming danger. Diane's anxiety quickly morphs into a profound, paralyzing fear as she recognizes that Jack is actively choosing to sink deeper into this dark, destructive path. She understands the lethal gravity of involving someone as volatile as Patty Williams in any scheme, let alone a direct assault on Victor Newman. Diane is acutely aware that Patty's involvement guarantees that this conflict will spiral out of control, inevitably resulting in massive collateral damage that could destroy their family. She watches in agonizing helplessness as the man she loves prioritizes his ancient, toxic hatred over their personal happiness and the sanctity of their marriage. The realization that she may be losing Jack to his own inner demons is a devastating blow. Jack Abbott is now standing at the ultimate crossroads, and his choices are actively paving the way for a tragedy of epic proportions. By prioritizing his vendetta against Victor Newman over his commitment to Diane Jenkins, he is risking the complete and total destruction of his marriage. He is sacrificing the genuine, nurturing love that Diane offers on the altar of his bitter and yielding resentment. Jack's alliance with Patty Williams is not merely a tactical maneuver, it is a Faustian bargain, a deal with the devil that requires him to forfeit his integrity, his peace of mind, and potentially the woman who holds his heart. He is marching blindly toward a cliff, completely oblivious to the fact that revenge will cost him everything.